Before I get into today's deck profile, I just want to let everyone know that my main shop is having its Mardi Gras sale. Link is in the description, and a display should be right above the top right screen by the comments. And if you use the code Mardi Gras at checkout, you can save yourself 30% off your purchases. Thank you for the support. And now, let's get back to the show. Duelists, it is I, Hellgear, and this is my Beetrooper deck profile. Bug.deck has been a really fun time, and I wanted to post up a build that I've been playing with before we get all of the new bug support coming in Photon Hypernova, as well as the new Beetrooper card, or Cruel Saturn, coming down the line in Cyberstorm Access. This has been, again, very fun deck. It's had its tops, and I hope you enjoy. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and remember to like, sub, and bell. We're trying to get to 2,000 subs. So let's count the cards. Starting things off with 2 copies of Beetrooper Scout Buggy. Scout Buggy is one of a couple of cards in this deck that locks you into bugs, which doesn't hurt you at all because every monster in this deck is a bug. It can also special summon another Scout Buggy from deck or graveyard once per turn. 2 is fine. The argument to play 3 is there. However, 2 can get you through what you need to do when it comes to your wonderful plays. 2 Scale Bomber. This card can special summon itself from the hand if you can normal summon a level 4 or lower bug, and when your opponent activates a monster effect, it can tribute a bug to blast the monster at quick effect speed. I'm trying a new way of working these deck profiles, folks, so bear with me if things are a little bit rough. Being a lefty, man, ew. I will figure this out somehow. I'm a lefty, if you haven't figured it out by now. Being a lefty kinda is, it's a trial. Next up, 2 copies of Sting Lancer. Sting Lancer can target a bug in your graveyard and a monster in your opponent's graveyard. Place them on the bottom of the deck, and then special summon itself from the hand once per turn. Also, once per turn on summon, it adds a Beetrooper spell from deck to hand. This is your main way of getting to your cards like Descent or even Fly and Sting, which is the counter trap for this deck. 1 Assault Roller. If you have Aztekipede the Worm Warrior, you can use it in place of this card. Banish an insect from your graveyard to special summon it from your hand once per turn this way. The slight attack boost for all the other bugs probably doesn't do too much, and when it dies in battle, it wrote as a different Beetrooper to your hand. The last of the Beetroopers themselves is our good friend Mighty Neptune. Can't be normal summoned or set, and you must first special summon it by shuffling 3 of your banished insects back into your deck. This 3K beater can special summon itself from banishment or being destroyed by battle in the main phase once per turn. And at the end of your turn, it could even stack a rack of attack on another, your insects. Gotta love the bugs. Moving on to the rest of the bug support, I'm going with 2 copies of our good friend Dragon Bite. This guy, if you normal summon a level 4 or lower bug, or normal summon this card, you can special summon a level 4 or lower insect from your hand, and once per turn. Dragon Bite is also a tuner that can augment levels of your bugs. Like Scale Bomber, it's one of your deck's extenders. Next up, 2 copies of Retaliating Sea. You probably won't ever use the effect to special summon it from the hand to make it a walking, talking die-fi. But the main effect that you use is when it's sent to the graveyard, you can add an earth insect with 1500 attack or less from deck to hand. Like your Contact C, which can disrupt your opponent's extra deck plays by special summoning to their field, and they have to use it as an extra deck material. The oh so good Resonance Insect, I shouldn't even have to tell you how good this thing is, and it's not once per turn. One of my personal techs in this deck, which is also an Earth Bug, 2 copies of Naturia's Stink Bug. It contributes itself when the Naturia monster is targeted to negate the attack and end the battle phase. And because it is another Earth Tuner, and with 200 attack points, you can get it off of Retaliating C. Retaliating C. Interestingly enough, I also play a short digital bug package of 2 Registrator, a Web Solder, and a Cocoon Denser. Since a lot of the bugs in this are level 3s, digital bugs have a nice place at home here. And they can also pass on different effects to the Xyz monsters that are in the extra deck. Very fun little addition to this deck. 1 Doom Dozer, you banish 2 bugs to pull it out. It's just another strong beater in our insect world. Now, this next card right here is my personal spice for the Beetrooper decks. So, every Beetrooper deck, or bug deck in general that I've seen, doesn't use this card. And in testing, this has proven to be quite the interesting piece. So, let me know what you think this card is in the comment section below. I'm going to give you guys 5 seconds to figure out what this is, and yes, it fits the theme of this deck rather well. So we're going to do this in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Remember to like, sub, and bell. My spice for Bug.deck. 1 copy of Kawaki Maru Beetle. Now, having a bug in your hand to reveal to keep this alive should be no problem. You'll probably do that with your Contact C. Why I like this bug is, while it's face up, whenever your opponent or yourself special summons a light or dark monster in attack position, Kawaki Maru Beetle switches it, if it's a non-link monster, to defense. This can floodgate out a lot of your opponent's cards. And because it says when this is summoned, and it's not once per turn. So, other than the digital bugs, it's not really going to hurt you too much. But there are certain dark attribute cards that find this rather interesting. Now, of course, I gotta take this time to rip on Dark Arm Duelist, because this guy has a Beetrooper deck, and one of the cards that he uses helps him out the barrier statue, which is Killer Needle. Dark Arm Duelist, if you're watching this, I don't have Killer Needle, but I do have Girochin Kuwagata. It's a normal bug, and it has a little bit more punch to swing over the barrier statue of the Stormwinds. Then again, with the way everybody is talking about, we might just get that card banned in the regular format, since it's already banned in Master Duel. Beetrooper decks don't play too many spells. The most I've seen played in a Beetrooper deck is 9. So the spell game is going to be rather quick here. I run a Terraforming for this deck. Now, I do not run the Beetrooper field spell, Beetrooper Formation, because burning your life, taking burn from life points on summoning one of your bugs is a crock. But I do play Giant Ballpark. If either you or your opponent would take battle damage this turn, you can make that damage 0 and then mill a bug from your deck to the graveyard. Hard. This works also really well with Gyurchin Kuwagata. If you do mill a normal bug and you have other copies of it, you can special summon those copies, even if this card leaves the field. And if it does get whacked, you can special summon a normal bug from your graveyard, letting Gyurchin Kuwagata reuse itself over and over again. On the defensive boot, in addition to Giant Ballpark, I also run in Insect Neglect. When your opponent declares an attack, you can banish an insect in your graveyard to negate. So between Insect Neglect and Giant Ballpark, being able to take no damage from attacks shouldn't be too hard. Plus, since you're banishing monsters to block attacks with Insect Neglect, you can also set up your Mighty Neptune. 2 copies of Beetrooper Descent. This one gets us a level 3 bug token, and if you control a bug with 3,000 or more attack, you can hit a card in your opponent's back row. We know about Monster Reborn. Don't have to tell you about that. And as we go into the trap game, I want to talk about the Fusion Engine. A lot of duelists don't play the fusion spell for this deck, which is Beetrooper Landing, but they do play Ready Fusion, and there is a bug that we can pay the life points for Ready Fusion. I also do Necro Fusion, as it banishes bugs in your graveyard to fusion summon, which can also set up your Mighty Neptune. Continuing on with the trap game, 2 copies of Lair Wire. This can actually banish an insect to blast a card your opponent controls. Another good defensive play for this deck. I run 1 DNA Transplant. This is just part of the digital bug engine, turning all of my bugs into light attribute to help go into better digital bug plays. As I said before, Beetroopers don't really use too many spells, so Anti-Spell Fragrance is a really good floodgate for this deck, as I found out. And of course, the Flying Sting, which you can reuse over and over again to negate your opponent's monster effects, wraps up the main deck. My personal critique in the extra deck, folks. 2 copies of Absolute Hercules. You know, the fusion Beetrooper that nobody likes. When this card is fusion summoned, it is immune to card effects until the end of your next turn. And on a 4,000 attack point monster, that's really good. To be immune to just everything. Especially if you've confused in some of this and Despia pulls out Mirror Jade. They can't banish it, because it's immune to card effects. At the end of the battle phase, you can target an insect monster that has 3,000 or less attack in your graveyard and special summon it once per turn. So, if you can use Necrofusion to pull this off, you can literally, if your opponent swings at you, pull Necrofusion, banish 4 insects to fusion summon this gargantuan of a monster, and since it was fusion summoned and properly, it's immune to your opponent's other card effects until the end of your turn. Or, if you fuse it on your turn, you have essentially 2 turns and a 4,000 attack point beast to run down your opponents. Quagga Hercules is our Ready Fusion target. I run 2 Synchro monsters, and they are Battle Wasps. Hama the Conquering Bow and Ballista the Armageddon. You can run into our good Conquering Bow here, who does some slight burn damage if it doesn't attack. Ballista the Armageddon is another big bug with 3,000 attack. It banishes all the bugs in your graveyard on summon, and when it dies, you get 3 level 12 or lower bugs back from banishment, which means you get your investment on resources back. One Cicada King, this is just our negates. We love this. The extra deck digital bug engine of 1 Scaradiator, 1 Corbage, and a Rhinoceros. Funny thing is, Scaradiator and Cicada King can both negate. Only Digital Bug Scaradiator negates for a turn. But Cicada King negates as well. And in addition to the digital bug effects that are added to these guys can get pretty strong pretty fast. For the Link monsters, we got the Shinobi Insect. It actually protects cards that it points to and can get you something back. Pika Felina, we know how good this is. We use this in combination with Resonance Insect. Seraphim Papillion can get some counters on Link Summon, or once per turn, add the quick effect, give up a counter to special summon a low-level bug to your field. It actually works very well with Beetrooper Scout Buggy. You can give up a counter, special summon 1 Scout Buggy, then you can use the Scout Buggy's effect to get the second Scout Buggy, and then overlay them both into number 3 Cicada King, and you have your negate on board. Two Beetrooper Armor Horn, another card that locks you into insects, and after its effect dissolves, it lets you extend with an extra normal summon. You can banish 3 insects from your graveyard, or to special summon this card from the graveyard, but banish it when it leaves the field. And lastly, one of the Invincible Atlas. While it has 3,000 attack, it's unaffected by card effects. So another bug that's just immune to stuff. And as long as it has 3,000 attack or less, you get that immunity. And then, once per turn, you can either tribute a bug to special summon this, or beef up the attack of another bug. This deck can actually get to Beetrooper Atlas very quickly. And depending on how you play your cards, you can actually roll through things rather fast. You know. Yes. Swarming with Beetroopers is not too hard, depending on how you play your deck. Let's just say, for example, you can go into your Scout Buggy. Scout Buggy is going to use its effect to give you another Scout Buggy. If you have Scale Bomber, you can extend by special summoning Scale Bomber. You can overlay these two into your Cicada King. This deck pops off very, very well. There are so many lines and paths to go into things. You'll love it. And with the new bugs that are coming up, starting in Photon Hypernova, this deck is going to get a lot stronger. Not just Beetroopers, but bug decks in general. Anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed my Beetrooper deck profile. I plan on updating it soon once we get all the new bug support. Alright. Thanks for watching, but for now, I take my cards to the box because I'm done. Bye-bye, everybody.